Alright people, today I'm going to show you how you can create a mountain in your natural aquascape with Seiryu rock or other rocks even, without using any glue. Well, that's how I done it anyway. Like, I want to make this clear, I'm not a professional aquascapist, I think that's what they're called. However, the way I done it actually worked out pretty fine. So I'll go through it step by step and talk you through what I've done. But yeah, let's start from the start. So I was looking at my Fluval Roma 240, and even though I really like the scape, like I just love the way it came out, I got really lucky with the pieces of wood that I picked out and stuff like that. And yeah, even though I really like it, there seemed to be something missing. I wasn't quite sure what it was at first, but I think I figured it out. It was the pieces of rock. They all seemed to be pretty much the same size, and it kind of made it look fake. When I say fake, I mean it looks like someone just, you know, set up a fish tank and put these rocks in, which technically is what happened, but I wanted to look like it's a piece of nature. And I realized what I needed were some different sizes of the Seiryu rock. You see, if they're all the same size, then it gives you that fake look. But if you have some smaller pieces here and there scattered around, it should give it a much more natural look. So, you know what I decided to do. I went to Wholesale Tropicals, my local fish store, and I went there to look at the selection of Seiryu rock. And I did find quite a few smaller pieces. They weren't really the size that I was looking for. I did look for smaller pieces than the ones that I found. However, the small pieces that I did find were smaller than the rocks I already had, and they did look kind of cool. Now, here's where I got into a little problem. You see, I really struggle from impulse buying sometimes, especially when it comes to fish. But because I enjoy aquascaping so much, I also have that impulse buying side for when it comes to buying hardscape. And yeah, I was playing with all of these pieces of rock, and some of them looked really cool. They had all the little ridges that I like for my scape, and yeah, I ended up buying all of them. This has been a very expensive month on my savings, man. But yeah, I was thinking I'll just try to make it work. And also, if there's anything I don't use, I can try to use it in my other tanks, because I do like the way Seiryu rock looks, and I am considering rescaping my Fluval Roma 200 and my Fluval Flex and adding some Seiryu rock in there. So if I did get too many, it's alright, because I can just use them for my other tanks. So yeah, we got back home and I went to work on the tank straight away, and I was in the process of trying to find the right spots for the Seiryu rock just to make the scape look a bit more natural and that. And whilst I was doing it, I kind of made the decision that I'm going to try and make a little mountain on the left side. I'm not even sure how it came to that. I was kind of just playing around with the rocks, and I started stacking a few of them on top of each other, and I realized they looked kind of cool. So I wanted to see what I could do. And the thing is, it was a win-win situation, because the reason I'm adding all of these rocks is to make a few more hiding spots for the fish that are eventually going to go in there. And having all of these rocks stapled on top of each other with the little gaps in between creates loads of hiding spots for the fish. Now, of course, I did have to be careful as well, because when you're piling rocks on top of each other, there's always the danger that they could all just collapse and fall down. But I will go through how I tackled that problem a bit later in the video. Oh my god. Alright people, I can't lie, I am struggling a little bit just getting them all to match up together nicely. So I just put everything in the tank for now, so I can try start to visualize it. I do feel like I could create a small cave here if I combine these somehow. But we'll see people, we'll see what happens. Wow, oh, that took forever, man. I honestly didn't know where to put all of these rocks. Like I said, I got some smaller pieces because I just wanted to bring a few more levels to this fish tank. I hope I found it now. I like it. By the way, people, I know there's a lot of rocks stacked on top of each other right here. Don't worry, I did test it. I gave it a little push and everything, but they're very stable. They shouldn't topple over or anything like that. If I do ever feel like that they might fall down, then of course I'm going to rearrange them because safety first for the fish. But for now, all of that is a solid structure. It's not moving at all, so you should be fine. Now, these smaller pieces here is what adds to the levels of this fish tank. Once again, if every single rock is the same size, then it's just going to look fake. Yeah, when you are scaping your own tank, make sure you buy rocks from all different sizes because that will make it look much more natural. But yeah, the way the mountain came out in the end looked quite cool, so let's just go through it step by step. Now, if you're someone who's setting up a brand new fish tank, the most important tip I'll give you is try to create a hill with the gravel. That's what I've done in my fish tank. Like the left side, I had more gravel on there and I created this hill, and it adds a bit more depth into your fish tank, but it also helps you give you that mountain look, especially if you add loads of rocks there. So yeah, if you're setting up a brand new fish tank, make sure you do that. Now, one thing I should quickly mention, if you are doing a hill with the gravel, you do need hardscape in strategic positions, kind of like at the bottom of the hill, to make sure all the gravel doesn't just slide down, because if you don't have anything there to kind of stop the fall, over time, like over months and that, the gravel will all eventually level out and you'll just be left with a very level tank. But I'll make a more detailed video about tips for scaping, so keep an eye out for that. Actually, before we carry on, if you want to see more videos like this every single week where I talk about my Fluval Roma 200 and my 240 and my individual fish like my moray eel and other oddball fish like that, then please make sure you like and subscribe. It really helps me out. But yeah, the next step is one of the most important steps, which is the foundation. Ideally, you want to use big rocks that have a flat surface and a flat bottom as well, so you can kind of just have them next to each other, make that as your foundation depending on how big you want your mountain to be. Mine kind of goes from the left side, but it also carries on the right side. I've got 3 big rocks right there, and then to build another layer on top of that, you can use more flat rocks like that. Now, do remember, this is the way to do it without glue. If you are using glue, then of course you can do a much more complicated piece where you have like one piece sticking out like that and stick it on top. Like, yeah, you can do some really cool things with glue, but I didn't really want to use glue because I've already started the scape and I was adding the rocks on top. So if you're gonna do it like me without any glue, you want a very solid foundation, and the best way to do that is with the flatter rocks. Now, after you've done that, you can start working on the top layer of your mountain, and the type of rocks you want to look for there are the ones that have a flat bottom because you want to put it on top, but you kind of want a very nice top part. Now, of course, that comes down to the individual of what you find nice, but for me personally, having those ridges or having some kind of shape on top of it, like a peak, you know, a mountain peak would be ideal. Things like that, that's what you want to lay on top of it. And yeah, but we're kind of getting ahead a little bit because there's another very important thing that I should mention. You see the massive piece of spider wood that I have in front of the rocks? That was a solid leaning point for the rocks, which was very, very essential. You see, while I was setting up this little structure, I was tapping it with my hand and putting a bit of pressure from all the sides to see whether they could buckle in any direction. And I noticed when I was doing it without any solid leaning points, there was a small danger of it, falling forwards or whatever. However, when I used the wood as a solid leaning point and I kind of had some of the rocks lean against it a little bit, it was perfectly fine. And the best thing is, because the wood was actually weighed down by very big pieces of Seiryu rock at the bottom, it was just a perfect combination. Like, those rocks at the top are nowhere near heavy enough to lift the rocks that was grounding the wood itself, and the wood itself was very, very strong. It's a very thick piece of wood, so the rocks wouldn't like break the wood in half or anything like that. It's very weird to explain, but I hope you guys know what I mean. Now, another thing I should mention, and this is for people who wanted to look aesthetically pleasing, is the lines on the rock. So for example, if you're using Seiryu rock, they have those lines which I'm assuming come from the current or something like that. You kind of want them all to match up. You see, if you have some rocks where the lines are facing upwards and then you have another rock where the lines are facing sideways, it's just gonna look weird and it will look fake. And if you really think about, know, when you see footage of underwater rivers and stuff like that, all the rocks, all the lines, they are all pretty much going the same direction, because most of the time those lines are created by water and the water current. So if you want it to look very natural, make sure all the pieces of rock, whatever patterns they have, that they all go into the same direction. Now I do have to say, my mountain is not perfect. I was trying to make sure that there's no chance of the rocks toppling over, so I did have to use some pieces that were literally square, but once again that comes down to me doing it without any glue. But yeah, all in all, I think the scape is finally finished. We've got loads of caves in there now, we've got loads of natural structures like the mountain and the wood and everything, and now all we have to do is cycle the tank properly, and in a few months we should be able to add in things like the moray eel. We'll see, man. If you don't want to miss the journey, make sure you like and subscribe, and if you want to see the day I first set up my Fluval Roma 240, then click right here.